Our first guest tonight's been coaching the tight ends at BYU since 2016. Before that, he was offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach at Weber State and Southern Utah. Before that, he was a defensive assistant at Utah. It's our pleasure to welcome Steve Clark to the Wise Guys. Thanks for being here.
Good to be here, and I'm glad Fowler's not here.
Yeah, Blaine had a lot of questions, and then he was out of town doing nothing. By the way, he's just out of town doing nothing.
Yeah, sure.
But
he didn't want to face me. He's scared of me.
Hey, how has the experience of running an offense, coaching quarterbacks, and coaching defense helped you focus on how to help a tight end become the best he can be?
Well, I think it's coaching defense. You know how to stop them. You know what's hard for them. Jamming the tight ends and rerouting the tight ends. And as a quarterback, quarterback coach, you're teaching the quarterbacks, what they're going to do, how they work to get open. They're a little different than receivers in that they use their bigger bodies. They don't get wide open, but they're always open just because of their size. So throw it to them. They'll make the play.
Yeah, what's interesting about this question, my senior year was completely different compared to my junior year. And I think a lot of it had to do with me just being in the film room, but also studying receivers and talking to some of the guys that I was close with and trying to get in their minds and understanding, when you ran this type of route, why did you do that, right?
Yeah.
And I always thought, if I went over and trained for maybe a little bit and just picked up on certain little nuances of running routes and breaking down, if that would help me, transfer over to helping me guarding receivers, would you recommend that?
Absolutely.
For you guys?
In fact, I spent a lot of time talking to the safeties. They both asking me, what's hard on a tight end, and then me asking them what's hard on a safety. Absolutely. I've watched film with defensive guys. They want to know why we're doing what we're doing, and that's a big part of coaching kids these days. They want to know why you're doing things. Yeah. And so they're a lot better when they know why you're doing it, or why you're releasing that way, why you're trying to get that kind of leverage. They're reading stances, splits. There's so much to it, and the more that you can learn about the other side, the better off you're going to be.
That's another really good point too. So when Bronco took over in 2010, he would in practice he would say, "Hey, I'm calling this play. If I call this play, think double move." And I was so amazed, and I was like, "Why is this taking a year and a half for me to understand this concept?" And so throughout every single practice, he would call a play and associate it with, this is what I think the offense is going to do.
Yeah, and we're looking at pre-snap reads. We're looking at shells. There's so much going on pre-snap that gives you clues. Not every time, it's not always right, but you're getting clues of what they're gonna. Right. What they're, and fronts. I mean, fronts match with coverages. So you get this front, you're gonna probably get this coverage. So there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
Hey, Kay Porter writes, "Hey, Coach Clark, great man. My family and I have known him since he was at Provo High School. He had a great impact on all my kids." So you got friends here tonight.
Yeah, Provo Bulldogs. That's the high school of champions right there.
Yeah, so. All 10 of them McCanns are at Orem Tigers. Yeah, we're not the school of champions. We're not. We're okay. We had radio station KOHS. That's why I'm here today. It wasn't because of championships. But
that's nice of him to say. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Hey, Matt Bushman was your tight end before Isaac Rex. Led the team in receiving in 17, 18, and 19. Primed for a huge 2020 before a season-ending injury on the last day of practice. In Aaron Roderick's offense, how vital is the tight end spot?
It's very vital. And if you talk to, we watch a lot of Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah. And we see what they do with their tight ends. And Andy Reid calls them the do-it-all guys. You have a different formation, it's the tight ends doing it. You have a different motion, it's the tight ends doing it. You have a different protection, the tight ends do it. You're so tied into everything that the O-line is doing, everything that the receiver's doing. outside receiver, slot receiver, and then we have our own route trees as a tight end. There's so much to it. So it's, and, you know, I'm the tight ends coach, so of course I'm going to say they're vital.
Yeah, I knew. That's why I said how vital, not just vital, because I know we.
Like on a scale of 1 to 10.
Like, 11 or 12. So, you know, a lot of offenses you see nowadays in the spread stuff, they don't use them. But in this offense, you know, we don't leave the field. You know, there's always one, sometimes two, sometimes three on the field. And, you know, putting a tight end in line, putting two tight ends in line, putting a tight end in a wing, it creates extra gaps that defenses have to account for. And, you know, to drop the safety down, now it opens up the pass game.
Glenn from the Philippines with us on the Wise Guys. Thank you, Glenn, and good morning. Maggie Clark on YouTube asked a question. Hey, ask Coach Clark if he can shred on the guitar. Does that feel like, that feels like an inside baseball question?
Tell Maggie that I was just doing it about a half hour ago, and she heard it.
You're talking to Maggie right now. Oh, is this? We know who this Maggie is.
That is my daughter, Maggie.
Maggie, welcome to the show.
She knows I can shred.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Nice. I've always had this question. I've been done playing 12 years now. It was easier when I was playing to figure out the rotation of tight ends based off and what the play was going to be based off of the tight end that came in, right? So, having obviously the formation is one thing, but then having a certain guy knowing, okay, this is the stud, kind of receiver guy. This is the blocker. As an offense, naturally you're going to have certain guys that fit those roles, but how do you disguise that, from a defense perspective?
That's a great question. I'm not going to tell you.
That's a off air, offline question?
No, I spend a lot of time during the week. So we start making our call sheet Tuesday night, Monday night, Tuesday night. We start making our call sheet. I start personnelling it those nights. So I have to make sure that this guy's not in every time we run that concept. Even though he might not be the best one that runs that concept, I have to mix it up because they're so clued in on, okay, Ethan Erickson's in, we're spreading it, we're going to run speed option, which I saw as a tendency watching it last year recently. So, Isaac's in or Mason's in. They're in a running. I mean, that also shows you the importance of the tight ends when you can do both at the same time. Right. When you can run the ball, you can throw with them in there. You can disguise what you're doing, but that's something that we're well aware of going into the game. Okay, we can't put these two in at the same time. They'll know something's coming. So we are constantly changing it and mixing it up. We probably have 15 different personnel packages that we use in a week.
Yeah, I think that does define how important the tight end position is, and I think especially when you think about kids growing up nowadays. I mean, everything is really specialized, right? Yeah. And their trainings are not only just speed and quickness, but it's specific to their position, right? And so I almost wonder how can a kid, or I guess that again adds the value of a tight end, if they can learn all the different nuances that a tight end needs to be, from being split out, from being connected to the box, and then being able to block as well.
So it's getting harder to find because high schools are kind of shying away from a tight end. So we're looking for the bigger receivers that we feel have the ability, have the toughness to be able to come in and put their hand in the grounds, but also be able to run still run the routes that. So we bring them in, and they're about 200 pounds, and I tell them 230. That's the least you can weigh. And Mason Wake really took that to heart and jumped up to like 280.
Wow.
So
does it affect his leaping ability, Mason Wake, at 280?
He knows what I'm telling him right now. He's listening.
Is it possible, or have you thought of going maybe the other way around and maybe recruiting maybe a athletic, power forward.
Tackle.
Well,
Yeah.
Both. That too. That's gonna be my next one.
So when you take a receiver and put him at tight end, that's kind of disrespectful. But you take a tackle and put him at tight end, that's a huge jump, and they love that. Yes, we have Anthony Olson, who's on our team, played 1 year of football, but was a basketball player.
Okay.
And so, yeah, we do that. I mean, some of the greatest tight ends of all time were Antonio Gates, basketball player. Trying to think of the other tight ends that were that way. They brought him in, never played high school or college, and made him tight ends. They're good power forwards. I mean, Karl Malone would have been a great tight end.
He would have been all right.
You know, they work in tight spaces. They're used to the contact and having to fight for the ball.
I'm assuming that the transition may be harder because it means going from one sport versus a position, but maybe once the development is finalized, you get a better product from a basketball player?
I think so. I think so. The route running and pass catching is no problem. It's the physical aspect of the leverage aspect of it. There's so much in the run game, in the pass protection.
Are you saying
games.
Basketball players are soft?
I'm not saying that.
The mailman wasn't soft.
Yeah.
Forrest Galp'able with us from Houston tonight. BYU tight ends coach Steve Clark's our guest on the Wise Guys, live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and ysguys.com. Let's talk about Isaac Rex for a moment. 6'6". He takes over for Bushman in 2020, becomes a freshman All-American, finishes tied for the most touchdowns by a tight end in the country with 12. What'd you see in Isaac then? And then we'll bring it to what you're seeing right now.
What I see in Isaac is that combination of being able to do both, to having the tenacity of, getting in the ugly trenches, but also being good enough to get out and get open and play in the open field. The best thing about Isaac is his catch radius. He's got long arms. He's got really good hands, and I think he's second all time in the tight end touchdown, and I think he needs 2 to break the record.
He's got 21 already for his career.
And I get a $100,000 bonus as soon as that happens.
Pitt is going to say, "Hey, I didn't have a COVID season." That's the first phrase that's going to be out of Pitt's mouth.
So, well, I mean, tell Dennis to give me a call when that happens.
Dennis watches the show. He'll be on with us next month. Yeah, he's been on before. He's awesome. And he'll take credit for everything that Isaac does well.
Well, he does work with Isaac, and he's been working with a lot of our tight ends, which we're thankful for. Dennis was a GA when I was a GA when Dennis was playing, and you could tell he was special, but took the tough route to be one of the greatest tight ends in college football history. So, but yeah, Dennis. I'll text Dennis after. I'll split it with him.
Let's talk about Rex and his ankle. When we talked to him in spring, at the end of spring, he said, "I'm going to be fully ready for the fall." That ankle injury was so bad at USC at the end of the 2021 season, multiple surgeries and all that stuff. He plays last season on a bad ankle, which limits what he can do, but he's got the guts and tenacity to not let you take him out of the game. So as we sit now, a week from where the first practice is, where's he at with his ankle?
I think he's improved. I think what you don't know about Isaac last year is during the game, before the game, he'd get shot. So, he didn't feel a lot of pain.
Yeah.
But it was during the week when he had to practice, because you can't get shot every day, when he was dragging that ankle around.
You can.
You can't.
But no one's going to.
But you shouldn't.
You shouldn't.
Yeah.
They said that if he did do that it wouldn't. He'd get a tolerance for it, and so on game days he wouldn't be able to. He would feel it.
Right.
So he drugged that ankle all year long, and there were times when he could barely walk in practice, and it's hard because you can't try things out on game day.
Mm-hmm.
So
he rarely practiced during the week.
No, he did practice, but there were times when we had to say, "Isaac, you're limping too much, and
Yeah.
and you'll probably see him limp some, but he had to really learn how to walk. It's not so much that it's hurting him; it's just it kind of drops. It's kind of like drop foot. You'll just see it kind of collapse, and it looks like he's limping. But and I asked him. He's so sick of me asking him, because I asked him a million times, Isaac, are you all right? You got to tell me. You got to let me know. And he's like, I'm fine. It just looks worse than it is. But so hopefully he's back to as close as he can. I don't think he'll ever be 100%. The same person that did Dak Prescott's surgery had the same exact injury did Isaac. And I think Dak was better last year than he was the year before. So hopefully we're
and wasn't the common thought coming out of the surgeries where this is an 18-month injury?
Yeah.
And we're just right at the tail end of what would be 18 months, right?
But he was determined to come back and play, and we needed him to.
Yeah.
And but I want to make it clear, I did not ever force him into anything that he didn't feel comfortable with. But he never complained. He still has never complained one time. He's always, I've asked him to practice, he's done it. I've asked him to go into games, he's done it. He's never said, no, I can't do that.
Yeah, we talked to his dad a couple months ago.
That's a problem.
Yeah, Byron, who also watches this show. Hey, Byron. We were talking to him, and he goes, well, do you want to ask him? He and Slovis are watching TV in the next room. This was in the springtime. This was just before they had, I think it was just before
spring ball.
Lexi had her baby, or maybe right after, but it was right around May or April. But anyway, I think it was after practice, because they were down there doing conditioning drills together.
Well, they want to adopt Slovis. They've thrown it out there.
And so I remember talking to his dad, and he said the same thing. And he seemed at times he was tearing up just because of the pain and just the frustration that he saw his son going throughout the season. And I've seen one player do that outside of the team. So I had just graduated, and I remember Riley Nelson was having a fight day in, day out, and we didn't know that he had like broken ribs or broken back. Right?
There was a lot of things broken.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But I remember just the team like rallying around him, and even my cousin at the time, Joe Sampson, he played safety, and he would come and tell me stories like, man, like it energizes us like no other, because he's the leader of the team, and we see him out there with a broken back. So my question to you is what was the impact of the guys around him when they saw him going through his struggles?
Well, I have 2 points of reference. I remember when Matt Mushman in a couple of years ago, when he blew out his Achilles, calling up practice and having 9 guys just sobbing, and having to rally him back. This Isaac's happened at the end of the season, so it really didn't affect us as much as Matt's did. But yeah, there were I talked to my guys. Our room, I mean, if you talk to us, we there's no excuses. This next guy he might not be as good, but he's going to be as tough. He's going to be as mentally as tough. He's going to go out there and he's going to fight. And that's the best thing we could have done for Isaac at that time, is go out there and fight, and we did. And Mason Wake played a position that he rarely plays in that game, and did great, and could have scored a touchdown, but instead he wants to run over 5 or 6 people, and so he does.
He's got to get over that.
But that's what's expected, and it's out of respect for Isaac. And Isaac's a team leader, but he doesn't say much, but when he does, they're listening.
Kevin from Orem is with us tonight. Sam checking in from Bakersfield, California. Thanks, Sam. What potential do you see with Rex and Slovis? I know they've been spending all summer working on timing and all of those things. From Rex's coach's perspective, what's the potential there?
So they have their player-run practices during June and July, and they've had great chemistry. They're locked into each other, but you don't know till it's 11 guys.
Right.
And Keaton has a rush coming at him. Then we'll find out what kind of chemistry they have when the bullets are live, when it really matters. And hopefully, Isaac can become a security blanket for Keaton, and that's kind of what tight ends do. They're kind of a guy you can go to quick if you have to, and hopefully Isaac and all the tight ends can be that for our quarterbacks.
Rex had 22 receptions, 320 yards, and 6 touchdowns last year. Before that, 18 catches for 191 and 3 touchdowns. As a freshman, 37 receptions for 429 and 12 touchdowns. Tied for most among all tight ends in the country, as we mentioned a moment ago. What kind of numbers do you want to see, do you expect to see from Rex now back healthier than he's been since before the USC game? What
I want and expect are I want him to have 100 catches and 50 touchdowns. I don't coach him that way. I coach him to get open. I don't want to say he needs to have this many catches, because that puts pressure on quarterback, and they have enough to do, and that's not my job. My job is to coach them to get open and to make the catch. And if we're doing that, if we're getting open, that's really all we can do. We can't do any more than that, and it puts a lot of added pressure on the quarterback to say, well, we want more targets. But, we always do, but I'm not going to put a number on it.
Maybe if you put a number on, like, an incentive, like, hey, if you give me X amount of targets, I'll give you some of my...
That's where Byron Rex comes in.
Yeah. Rex knows all about buying passes from Ty Detmer.
Absolutely.
So camp starts, next Tuesday. I'm excited because football starts, and I'm no longer going to be bored, but yet I don't have to put my body through, the pain anymore. As a coach, what's the excitement like, from this perspective?
Well, the excitement from my perspective is I start getting really agitated. You ask my wife, she's right over here. She tell you I start getting a little bit agitated, a little bit more pensive. It's fun, but also, there's a lot to it. There's a lot that goes into it, and so you look forward to it, but you have to realize it's a long season, and you have to take it, day by day. I know no one wants to hear that. I mean, you talk about bowl games in the future. I'm looking for next Tuesday. We're going to have a practice with helmets on. We need to be the best that we can be, right, and coach them the best that we can be, and just build on each day. And but it's a tough season. I mean, it's a long season. Last year was probably the hardest season I've ever one of the hardest I've ever been around. And
why is that?
Well, the 4-game losing streak. I mean,
right.
You start off 4-1, and then you see it week after week after week, and you're fighting. You're fighting to keep guys believing each week, which I think they did. But it's that stress builds up. I mean, people say, "What's the best part of your job?" Of winning. What's the worst part of your job? Losing.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you think it's going to be different with the Big 12 or being in a conference? Because those whenever we lost a game during conference, we still had our goals, right? Yeah. Especially early in the season. Mm-hmm. So talk to me about that. What that effort is going to look like.
So Coach Roderick, Aaron talks about that all the time, saying, "Hey, you lose a game, you're still in it. When you're independent, you lose a game, you're out."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So and then each week you throw up. This is what so and so did. This is where we're standing. You have that goal. Okay, we need to move up. So you have a goal, and you have something you can measure yourself against. Right. Well, you didn't have that at Independence. I mean, you
You had to go undefeated.
You had to go undefeated.
And sometimes that wasn't even enough.
And
You had
that
to
wa-
take a
that
game
wa-
on 3 days' notice, and sometimes that wasn't enough.
And they told us, look, you're going to play this. The chances of you going to a New Year's Six, even if you win that, are still pretty slim.
Yeah.
So there was.
It was cool that you
great.
did, though, because it was one of the great stories of the year.
Yeah, that year was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But we were winning every game.
That's why.
11-1
that's
is
why it
always fun.
So
Amber from New York City is with us tonight. Steve Clark's the tight ends coach at BYU on the Wise Guys as BYU prepares for its first season in the Big 12. You look at your tight end roster in the room, you got 8. There might be more. That's 8 that I came up with, but you got Rex, Ethan Erickson, and Mason Wake. Those are guys with the most playing experience. Are they your main rotation? You got Jackson Bowers, highly touted kid coming in, a 4-star recruit, and a handful of other guys. But is it those first 3? Any team would love to have 3 good tight ends to begin with.
Yeah, so we're going to do something a little bit different this year. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this.
I like
You're
how
just
you
with
looked at your.
friends.
I like how you
You're
looked
with
at your
friends.
wife.
Did Suzanne clear that? We're okay with that? Yeah, okay. She said okay.
So we're gonna split up and have 2 sets of team going at the same time, which we haven't done since I've been here, to
Nice.
get guys reps.
Mm-hmm.
So the first couple practices will be split. We'll be able to get more guys reps. I'll get to see all of them in our team situations.
Yeah.
And that was my idea. If Jay Hill says it was his idea,
Beautiful.
it was not his idea. It was mine.
Okay, we'll follow up with Jay when he comes back on. But this also gives the receivers, the coach, a chance. This gives Fessy, right?
It's
This is everybody doing everything.
Everybody. You're in helmets, so you're not wearing guys thin.
Yeah.
And so you're getting guys reps, and that helps if you get thin.
Mm-hmm.
They've built up reps, and I can get 8, 9 guys.
A full practice.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's something that we've learned from other places. I think Alabama does it that way. So, and they're okay.
Yeah, right.
They're
It seems to work out
Yeah.
for them.
sometimes.
How's this Bowers kid? And you signed another 4-star who's in school, and then he's got a mission before I think you'll see him in games. But what is Bowers? Is Bowers here for 4 and on, or is he a mission kid? Where's he at, and how do you bring a young guy like that, keep him focused and interested enough to develop?
Well, we said that yeah, he'll be here for 4 years.
Okay.
When we signed Dallin Hoker, we didn't think he was going on a mission, but he went on one. Guys worked on him. And
Right.
he ended up
It
going.
happens.
So I don't want to say never, but I've been meeting with Jackson frequently, and he is awesome. And he's picked up this offense as good as anybody has.
Really?
I have high hopes for him. I don't want to put any pressure on him this year because he is new, but he knows it, and that's half the battle.
Is he good enough to win a spot in the next 37 days? Or is he just good enough to be a star before he's done?
Well, I'm not saying, because I have my opinion,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I'm not throwing that.
Yeah, don't-
I'm not
Yeah.
throwing that out there.
You know, we ask a lot of crazy questions
because,
on
well,
this show.
I'm not putting pressure on
Right.
on a freshman. I mean, it's a big jump. Even if you're a 4 or 5 star, it's a big jump. So,
Well, look, when you have a 6'6" former freshman All-American healthy at tight end, that's something that the young kid can watch and go, okay, someday I want to be like this.
and that's the beauty of an Isaac Ray. That's the beauty of a Mason Wake. That's the beauty of an Ethan Erickson. They've been through the battles. They can go out and teach those young guys how to do everything that they need to do in this offense, which is a ton.
Right.
So,
Hey, John's got a question. Do the tight ends have to adjust what they're doing when the other quarterbacks come in, like Retzlaff, who has a different throwing motion than Slovis?
yes.
Is he
What's it
is he
like?
lefty?
What's the difference like?
Is he lefty? Is he a lefty?
No.
No, he just throws
Retzlaff
differently.
throws it so hard
Really?
Oh my gosh, it's different. It's a different ball coming out of his hand. So
You're making me feel uncomfortable with just how you your expressions.
I tell him, hey, you have to know when Jake's throwing to you. You have to get your head around and your hands up faster, just because it comes out, and Jake does not care. It's coming, and
He just expects him to catch it, right?
Yeah, and I love Jake, and I'm not complaining. I'm just, that's the way he throws it. That's the way we're going to catch it.
I was going to ask you. I mean, have you guys asked him to, like, take it off a little bit?
No,
just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. I can't wait for.
I got an NIL deal if you take it off a little bit.
I can't wait for BYU fans whenever his time comes to see the ball come out of his hand. It's and he's still young. He's still learning. His time will come, but it comes out. It comes out at different angles, and you never know.
He's got a good opportunity to learn from Slovis.
Yeah.
And he talked about that on Sports Nation when we had him on, about how valuable that was for him. There's a lot of pressure on Slovis. He's got a lot of experience. He's been at USC and he's been at Pitt. Now he's at BYU to finish. What have you been most impressed about him since January when he got here?
Leadership. He's been a great leader. Got the guys going.
How does a new kid in town become the leader?
I don't know, but he's done it. He took them. They all went down to St. George. They've bonded together. He has the respect, I think, because he has so many starts at different. You're a quarterback at USC. There's some credibility that comes with that, and so, and watching him, he demands it without demanding it. You just are drawn to him, and he's running the drills, and he's telling them where they're going, and he's telling them how they're running the routes, and I've been real impressed with his leadership.
So this is a chicken before the egg type of question when it comes to the quarterback position. Do you think that a quarterback has to be that born type of leader to have the ultimate success that he could have, or can it be taught? Or I almost think that it's together. There's this synergy between being a quarterback and then being a leader. Like if you're a leader, you kind of almost are drawn to the position. Obviously, if you have the skill sets, right, and the characteristics. I just don't know if you can be a quarterback and not be a leader.
Well, I think that there's been a lot of quarterbacks I've been around who have talked the talk, but they get into the games and then it's not. And guys are going to follow those that can perform. Once they show they can perform, they can pretty much say whatever they want, but they have to be playing at the highest level. They do that. I mean, the players want a guy that leads by example.
Yeah. A couple more questions with Steve Clark, and then we're going to hit you up with 5 quick ones and get you out of here. I think it's date night, and Suzanne's ready to go.
5 quick ones? Five?
There'll be the toughest. Well, let's see how it goes. It might turn into something like that. But before we get to there, what are you most interested in seeing about this football team in this first year of the Big 12?
Our defense.
Mm-hmm. And what do you want to see from them?
Well, Jay Hill's the best defensive coordinator in America.
Did he tell you that, or are you telling us that?
I worked with Jay. So Jay and I started our careers at the same time in 2001 at Utah. So I know Jay.
Yeah.
Jay is an excellent coach, and I'm excited to see. I've already seen it, but I'm excited to see him put that. No pressure.
Yeah, right.
No pressure, but I'm excited.
He's got a little pressure on him. Come on.
Yeah, and if it doesn't work out, I have his number for everybody to call. No, I'm really excited about what they're doing over there. So, yeah.
This next question is going to test your mettle here, and we're going to find out just how what makes you tick. BYU's had some great tight ends over the years. If the game's on the line and you need a reception, which tight end are you going with? Gordon Hudson, Chad Lewis, Dennis Pitta, Johnny Harline, Matt Bushman, or Isaac Rex? And don't just say Bushman or Rex because you coach them. We want a complete
I'd have to go with Bushman or Rex.
But it's because of the coaching?
The coaching is so good. Bushman made some incredible
Yeah.
catches. The ones that he made it against Utah in that big game that were as good as you couldn't go wrong with any of them. I mean, Clay Brown caught the biggest.
Look, how much time do you have in between plays? 25 seconds?
I'd go 12 personnel and put 2 of those guys out on the field.
Yeah, which ones?
I'd go Bushman and
That's good.
Pitta.
That's
Bushman and Pitta. That's good. I'm glad you mentioned Dennis because he's going to be on here in 3 weeks and would have to follow up if you left him off that
So
list.
I have in my office, I have a trophy that Dennis won that's been sitting in there for at least 5 years. And I tell him every time it's sitting in my office. And he will not come and pick it up. So
Listen, we're just glad he got his schoolwork done so he get in the Hall of Fame.
No, really, I'm serious. Can I have it?
you can have it. I'll sell it to you.
Yeah. Top price.
See, when you said sell.
That's when Dennis will come back in and say, okay, you sold it. I want my cut. All right, 5 questions for Steve Clark. These are rapid fire. Just tell us first things that come to your mind. Bilo?
Favorite sports movie? 2-minute drill. 2-minute drill.
Yeah.
Favorite sports movie?
Don't look at Suzanne. You just know.
Got to use a timeout. Got to use.
Coach Rockwood's here. She's already answered these questions.
Okay.
You got one timeout left.
All right. The television version of Bull Durham.
You mean the edited version?
The edited version.
Bull Durham.
I don't know what
Good
that is.
baseball movie.
Oh, it's a baseball
It's a
movie.
baseball
Oh, okay.
movie. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Okay,
I
Bull
love
Durham.
baseball.
Bull Durham, the edited
The
version.
edited.
Okay.
I'll go Field of
is there-
Dreams. Field of Dreams better than
Is there
that.
a non-edited
What
version?
happened to Bull Durham? You just wiped them out for Field of Dreams?
Field of Dreams.
Okay, Field of Dreams is in. All right. We keep track of these two.
Favorite singer or band?
Favorite band is Rush. There is no other bands.
How do you really feel about Rush?
Me and Greg Rubel.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Rush is good.
I don't know who that is either. Favorite breakfast cereal?
I don't eat breakfast cereal.
I tried to use that same line. They wouldn't let me.
Grape nuts.
Grape nuts. Okay. You put any sugar on that, or just
Absolutely.
okay?
I've never heard that either.
I found that
three.
if you put enough sugar on grape nuts, it becomes a sugar-coated cereal.
Me and Brian need to go watch Field of Dreams while listening
nuts.
to Rush and eating grape.
Let's do it in your office while I'm holding the trophy.
Yeah.
Dennis's trophy.
Dennis, his Heisman.
Yeah.
His
All right.
runner-up
Favorite ice cream.
No, great.
But don't tell us you don't eat ice cream. Come on.
Vanilla. I once asked for vanilla when I was a kid,
Vanilla.
and my mom literally said this: "You want vanilla? Like your personality?"
Moms know just what to say.
And I've been scarred.
Look, I like vanilla because then you put stuff on it that
Yeah.
becomes something else.
Yeah. There's a lot of options there.
All right, here's the tough one, but it should be so easy. You ready? Go ahead.
Favorite advice from your wife, Suzanne?
Favorite advice.
Favorite advice from my wife.
This is a tough one.
So she said, this is hard for me to say, but when we said we were going to go be a coach, she said, "You go be a coach and you don't worry about us." And she's always backed that up.
Thank you, Suzanne, for that.
You want to come and talk?
See, that was our Barbara Walters last question. Just get you all emotional. Hey, we'll see you next Tuesday at practice.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Thank you so much for coming in and
Thanks,
Thanks,
Coach.
guys.
and sharing your insights. And so it would be Pitta. Did Pitta and Bushman you put into the game if you had to have something? I don't know what Isaac's thinking right now, but he has a chance to earn his way into that
Well, he's
duo.
got a little bit more to do. I just bought Matt's stroller from him, by the way.
Interesting.
Got grandbabies coming.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, it's out of here. Thank you.
I'll be there Monday to get the trophy.
I'll have it ready for you.
The great
Thanks,
Steve
Coach.
Clark, tight ends coach at BYU.